Hello and welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Hi, I'm Jesi.
I'm hungry.
And I'm Josh. And today we are going to be going over a poem from the Victorian era in British literature. And that is The Kraken by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And Alfred Lord Tennyson was actually a successful, noteworthy poet during his lifetime, and he succeeded William Wordsworth in the position of poet laureate in his country. The discussion starter that I have for this poem is...
Dun, da, da, da.
Do you believe there was any background or additional reasoning to Tennyson writing this poem aside from telling the story of a legend for entertainment value?
That's a tough question.
You
That
repeat the
is.
question.
I feel like obviously you really can't do a ton of research on the Kraken because, I mean, they're not real. They're these legendary, fabulous sea monsters that, you know, sailors talk about seeing and encountering.
What about, like the Loch Ness Monster,
Exactly, like you can't really
do.
do any research on it because nobody's ever actually caught real proof. I get a little bit of just awe when I read this, and I feel like he's trying to give the landlocked people that sense of awe that sailors might get when they think they've encountered something.
And when a sailor, of course...
I also feel that it reflects the Kraken just being a subject of human desire, because this came out, this was released around the same time as Moby Dick.
Okay,
and
yes.
Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold, where Dover Beach is concentrating on nature as a whole. Tennyson is concentrating on this subject, and I feel the last two lines really say a lot in "Then once by man and angels to be seen, in roaring he shall rise, and on the surface die," where we have this, I think the Victorian period, Tennyson was one of the, he was the one that rang it in. I think he's perhaps where William Blake and William Wordsworth were the starting anchors for Romanticism. Tennyson was this way for Victorian era literature, and how interaction that humanity has with nature. They have such a great fascination with creatures like the Kraken that their fascination, while it can be incredible, it can also be incredibly harmful, even if the Kraken is something that they think could provide a sense of what they feel is offensive harm, when in actuality it's just defensive.
So how did you take that last line? Because it says, "In roaring he shall rise, and on the surface die." Like you're saying that when the Kraken comes to life, or comes above.
They're going to either want to. It could apply to a few different things, where they may either want to hunt the Kraken or do something in order to...
I don't know about that. I get an apocalyptic sense from it.
That's kind of how I got it too. I think that's an excellent interpretation, and that did cross my mind, but I took it as more of a, whoever's on the surface, the men and the angels will die, because it's such a wondrous being that invokes so much mystery, I guess, that, anybody who's seen the Kraken hasn't lived to tell the tale, so it's all of those on the surface, are done, and it just kind of adds to the mystery and the lore that the sea has, not just with the Kraken, but all the other, mysteries that are beneath the surface.
We won't be able to see it a lot. I don't think it means we're going to die. I think the Kraken's going to die. But it's not going to be until the end of days. I get that sense from the line before that. What's the line right before that?
Until the latter fire shall heat the deep.
Yeah, the latter fire. That's very apocalyptic to me. That's very untimely.
Yeah.
I did not read the myth of the Kraken. I come to this with knowledge about
I'm sorry.
Victorian literature, but not necessarily myths and legends pertaining to
And I think that it's a mystery, right? I think that the Kraken is mysterious because, like Jesi was saying,
Nobody's lived to tell the tale.
nobody's lived to tell the tale
Or long
of
enough.
seeing the Kraken alive.
Yeah.
Didn't have really the
Meaning
healthcare back then.
that we will see it one day when all mysteries are revealed. But because it's part of that mystery is that we can't see it. I think you might be trying to get at something like that. Like, we can't see something that magnificent in this age.
We might not even be able to understand it or be able to, respect it for what it really is worth. And not it's just like, oh, it's just no, it's not just, it's the Kraken has arrived. Please make room for his or
No,
her.
the myth of the Kraken itself kind of came from the giant squid because you had these sperm whales and one of their like all these whalers going out hunting the sperm whales. One of their actual known enemies is the giant squid.
Yeah.
So they're out on the boats and all of a sudden they see these tentacles wrap around something they would consider as a monstrous being.
Yeah.
So the only thing big enough to swallow the sperm whale, this monstrous sperm whale, is something even bigger that could swallow a boat. So it is definitely like a myth that they intertwined with gods of ancient times and the sea lore and everything that comes out of it. So, and I think that's why the writer is keeping it kind of a mystery. I mean, at the time, they only just recently, like within the last decade or two, discovered that not decade or two. I'm sorry, half century. Whatever you
Long
call
time.
it. Yeah, like within the last 50 years
Yeah.
or so, they discovered that giant squids were actually real. That wasn't
yeah.
something that was made up.
Yeah, and the oceans at that,
So-
so the oceans will never be fully explored. There could very well be Krakens. We don't know that.
I'm going to go on
There's
there.
conjecture about it, right? Because the materialist mind only wants to believe in what can be seen or demonstrated by the authority of science.
And
But
humanity.
that doesn't mean that
likes
they're not down there. I don't mean that there's
Humanity is all about what can they do in order to provide themselves with the gain that they want, be it happiness or financial or just reactionary.
Yeah.
Because fear mongering has become a big industry.
Yes, indeed.
I'm gonna give you my take on this. Back then, sailors didn't have a phone. They couldn't, go on Google and say, how many miles to the next Kentucky Fried Chicken? Good food, by the way. Long story cut short, they would also tell tales to pass the time. That's another thing too. I mean, I'm taking a whole different twist to it. And also, the boats. They're not made of iron, steel with double 25. They're wooden boats. That's the best they had. Okay, we're back in time again. They had the tools. Well, what did they use to hunt a Kraken? You can't take a giant 12 gauge. No, that's not going to happen. You have a spear, or harpoon if you're lucky. And if that doesn't work, well,
Crossbow.
yeah. Like, I got a pair of drumsticks here, and that's not going to serve me too well against the Kraken. But also, I think it's also, hey, this tentacle's got a different. I kill you. Okay. Also, maybe, like I said earlier, to respect the unknown. Maybe like it's a tale to pass the time again. Like, wow, gives them something to think about besides swabbing the deck for the 45th time that day, eating beans and nothing.
It
pretty
does,
much.
and the way he writes it,
Makes
like
them
not
think.
just the tale like that's probably passed around itself, but the way he writes it is, he leaves that air of mystery and that air of wonder,
And probably,
that
like I
leaves you
said,
thinking.
that's why we're here talking
Yeah, it
about
doesn't
passing
give you
the
much
time.
detail, right? Just enough to give you a sense of the scope and the size, and
Exactly.
and kind of vague features, but nothing,
And also,
description.
Yeah,
per
yeah.
se.
It is a very interesting strategy. We only get a very vague. We get more about the appendages as opposed, like the things that have been applied to the Kraken as opposed to the Kraken
And
itself.
if you kind of think about it, that's like going back to all these sailors who originally basically are the origin of the legend. All they're seeing are these tentacles wrapping around something they thought was one of the biggest things on the planet,
Yeah.
and
They
they're
can't-
like, wow, that must be bigger, but all they see are the tentacles. So that's really that, you can only portray that to the landlocked ones. Hey, imagine being on the water and all you see are just these tentacles.
Basically, it's also, you could also say, that's my war story of the day. We were out on the sea for 3 months, 4 months, or you know.
For like 3 years.
Yeah, or I'm just saying, you know, yeah, when you're on a boat, especially in that time, you're gonna have to do something to pass the time. You're gonna have to keep the mind busy, but stuff like that, you don't know. You can't just say, okay, we're gonna take the thing and we're gonna go under about 2.5 miles, and no, you can't do that. They didn't have that technology, and even if they did, terrific, but still, I don't think it would be 2.5 miles. The sea is still, I think that what's the deepest? The Mariana Trench? And I think it goes even deeper.
Yeah, the Mariana Trench.
Yeah, I like
has
Mariana sauce.
strange
Not that has anything to do
Already
with it.
then.
But still, like I said, respect the unknown in a
Do
way.
you have any final thoughts?
Yeah.
I thought it was a very thought-provoking poem.
That's what I wanted to
Tennyson,
say.
if
Thank you.
anything,
It's beautifully constructed too. I think it flows really well. Like you could hear some old-timey actor reading it in the beginning of a movie or something.
I feel like it tells you enough to give you a really good visualization of like the
Oh, yeah.
surrounding, but then not enough to actually show you the picture of the monster in your head. It's literally like colorful and dark, and here's some tentacles.
Maybe it's their
and
testimonial.
I think if
Yeah.
anything, I feel that Tennyson did an extraordinary job giving us a good idea, just giving us a simple, brief, but to the point tale about a legend. And if you want to really look into it deeper, give us a pretty interesting glimpse at the way that we as humans react to creatures of that nature, in the event that they exist.
Yeah, it's like Charlie was saying. It's a respect not only for the unknown, but for the wonder
Exactly.
of something that our imaginations can't even fathom because of its sheer size.
And we're still kind of doing it today. If you ever see the movie Clash of the Titans, it's a relatively new movie, and the monster to end it all is the Kraken that comes up out of the sea with the tentacles and goes after the town. So
Yeah.
it's like, we're still, taking this little myth and turning it into something
We're monopolizing it
crazy
now. I'm
and
kidding.
drastic and still awe-inspiring.
You know.
Yeah, there's a famous quote from that movie about the Kraken. It's release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken, yes.
I say that sometimes, but
You
I
are
can't tell you why.
It's almost become a cliche.
Yes, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
If you are interested in checking out this and other works of English Victorian poetry, here is English Victorian Poetry, an anthology edited by Paul Negri. And this features
I like what he has better. I only have this.
poems by Alfred Lord Tennyson, Thomas Hood, Edward Lear, Robert Browning, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Emily Bronte, Matthew Arnold, George Meredith, Dante Rossetti, Christina Rossetti, Lewis Carroll, Algernon Swinburne, G.M. Hopkins, Oscar Wilde, Rudyard Kipling, and so many others.
Ah, it's quite a list.
Yeah.
It is it's quite an era, too.
Yeah.
But thank you for tuning into this discussion, and be sure to join us next time for another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading. Hi there, this is Josh, and on the next episode of Literary Gladiators, Larry, Jesse, Charlie, and I will be discussing the poem about Chuck E. Cheese a friend posted on Facebook by Tajay Silverman. Was featured in the Gettysburg Review Winter of 2018 edition of their magazine. And also remember to please support us on our Patreon account, because what we make on there will allow us to provide you, the viewer, with more material. Thank you for tuning in, and for now, and as always, I encourage you to keep reading.